During a Zoom meeting with the entire regional office, my manager joked, maybe if she dressed less like a librarian, she'd get more done. My camera was still on, and everyone saw me go stone-faced as he added, come on, don't cry, it's just office banter. That same night, I compiled every harassment complaint from the past 2 years, and copied his boss's boss on the email. I've been working at this logistics company in Kansas City for 10 years. It's not glamorous, but it pays well enough, and the benefits are decent. I run a small but solid team. We meet deadlines. We fix messes other departments leave behind. We don't cause drama. My manager, Rick, is the kind of guy who thinks being offensive is a personality trait. Loud, smug, always talking like he's at a bar instead of an office. The kind of guy who says, I'm just kidding, after saying something that wasn't even close to a joke. When I first started reporting to him 2 years ago, I thought I could deal with it. I figured if I did my job and didn't give him a reason to notice me, I'd stay off his radar. That worked for a while. I stayed quiet in meetings, avoided one-on-ones, and smiled through his jokes. But I guess even quiet isn't safe with people like him. The day it all changed started with a Monday Zoom call. It was our regional Q2 update, 8 offices on the call, close to 60 people. A few department heads, some team leads like me, and all the usual corporate types. My team had good numbers this quarter, so I was supposed to give a 5-minute update. I wasn't nervous. I'd done this before. I was maybe 2 minutes into speaking when Rick cut me off. His camera was on. He was sitting in his office, halfway through a sandwich, with that smug look on his face. Maybe if she dressed less like a librarian, she'd get more done. The words hit like a slap. I stopped mid-sentence. My mouth was still open. I just stared at the screen, stunned. My camera was on. Everyone saw my face. My reaction. I didn't hide it. And then he said, louder, like it was hilarious, come on, don't cry. It's just office banter. A few people laughed. Not many. It was that awkward kind of laugh people do when they don't know what else to do. But most people were silent. I remember seeing a guy from the Denver office look down at his keyboard. Someone from Chicago muted their mic really fast, probably to curse under their breath. My direct report, Kayla, messaged me on Slack, WTF? I didn't say a word. I turned off my camera. Muted myself. I sat through the rest of that meeting with my hands shaking. I don't even remember what anyone said after that. I just waited for it to end. When it was finally over, I shut my laptop, sat at my desk, and stared at the wall for a long time. My face felt hot. But I wasn't crying. I was boiling. That night, I didn't watch TV. I didn't call my sister like I usually do on Mondays. I poured a glass of wine, pulled out my personal laptop, and opened a folder I'd been quietly building for months. It was labeled, HR_stuff. Inside that folder were files I'd been collecting for almost a year. I never planned on doing anything with them. I just didn't trust anyone to remember what was said or done, so I kept receipts. Screenshots of inappropriate Slack messages Rick had sent. Notes I'd written down from team members who told me things in confidence. Emails from employees who had left the company but mentioned offhand how uncomfortable Rick made them feel. One of them even said, I tried going to HR but nothing happened, so I just quit. There were 6 different women across 3 regional offices who'd made formal or informal complaints about Rick. All of them had been brushed off. HR's responses were vague. We're looking into it. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. But nothing ever changed. Rick kept getting promoted. Kept getting more power. He was one of the old guys who'd been with the company for years. Friends with higher-ups. The kind of guy who'd never been told no until now. I compiled everything into one big PDF, almost 150 pages of screenshots, summaries, and timelines. Then I wrote my own detailed complaint, including the exact time, date, and Zoom meeting where Rick humiliated me. I described how I felt. I explained how it impacted me, and how others had reached out afterward to apologize or express how uncomfortable they were. And then, I sent it. Not just to HR. That would have gone nowhere. I CC'd Rick's direct manager, our regional director, and his boss's boss. The senior VP of operations. The one who shows up twice a year and barely says a word but signs every big decision. I included everyone who needed to see it. Then I logged off for the night and waited. The next morning, my email inbox was quiet. Too quiet. No response from HR. No confirmation message. Nothing from Rick. Nothing from upper management. I started to wonder if maybe they were trying to bury it. Maybe it got flagged or lost, which was their favorite excuse when they didn't want to deal with something real. Then, around 10:30 a.m., I got a calendar invite. Subject: Immediate HR review, attendance mandatory time, 1 p.m. attendees. Me, HR Director, Regional Director, Rick's boss, Senior VP. No Rick. My stomach flipped. I knew what this was. I was being investigated. Not him. Me. That's how it usually goes. Someone raises a stink, and suddenly they're disruptive. Not a team player. I had heard the stories. I walked into the HR Zoom meeting ready to defend myself. But something was off. The HR director looked tense. Not angry, just nervous. The senior VP wasn't smiling. He looked dead serious. The meeting started without small talk. The regional director spoke first. We received your report, he said. And we're taking it seriously. HR nodded. Very seriously, she repeated. Then the VP leaned forward. Tell us everything that happened on the Zoom call yesterday. Word for word. Don't leave anything out. So I did. I told them exactly what Rick said, how I reacted, and how others on the call responded. I mentioned the messages I got from coworkers afterward, even offered to forward the Slack chats. They already had the PDF. They'd gone through it. The VP looked like he hadn't slept. Then came the first twist. The HR director looked me straight in the eye and said, this isn't the first time he's been reported for this kind of behavior. But this is the first time we've seen documentation this detailed. Names, dates, context. You've done more work than our own team. That hit me hard. I'd done more for this investigation than HR had in 2 years. Then she said something that gave me chills, we're launching a formal investigation. But until that's complete, Rick is being put on administrative leave, effective immediately. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. But inside, something cracked open. Relief? No, not yet. I didn't trust it. It felt too clean. The meeting ended with HR promising complete confidentiality and asking me not to discuss the case with anyone. They said I did the right thing. But by the next morning, everyone in the office knew. My inbox was full of vague emails. Heard something big happened yesterday, you okay? Slack messages. Did you really report Rick? Even a voicemail from someone I hadn't talked to in months, thank you. You don't know how long we've been waiting for someone to say something. Word had spread. People were talking, and not just in my office. All 8 regional branches were buzzing. Apparently, Rick hadn't just made comments to me. A few people had already started forwarding their own screenshots to HR, emboldened by what I did. But then came the second twist, and it hit harder than the first. 3 days into the investigation, Rick's personal assistant, Jenna, called me. We'd always been cordial, never close. She asked if I had a minute to talk. We met outside, near the back of the building, behind the loading dock where the smokers go. She lit a cigarette and said, I'm not supposed to talk to you. HR told me to stay quiet. But there's something you need to know. She pulled out her phone, looked around, then showed me an email. It was from Rick, dated 4 months ago. Subject: cover your tracks. The email told Jenna to clean up some messages on Slack and delete anything that looks bad. He even offered her a bonus to keep things smooth. Jenna didn't take the bonus. She never responded. She just saved the email. I never knew what to do with this, she said. But I do now. She forwarded it to HR that same day. That night, I realized this wasn't just about a bad joke on a Zoom call. Rick had been covering his tracks for months. Maybe years. And people had let him. Until now. The day after Jenna sent that email to HR, something changed. My office keycard stopped working. At first, I thought it was just a glitch. The scanner beeped red twice when I tried to swipe in. I had to wait until one of the warehouse staff opened the door from the inside. When I got to my desk, my company laptop was missing. A yellow sticky note was on the monitor stand. IT came by, said something about security protocol. Mark, I felt it in my chest, this wasn't a coincidence. I tried logging into my email on a backup terminal. Locked out. Slack? Locked out. I called IT, and the guy sounded nervous. He told me, it was an automatic deactivation. Your name came up on a list that. I don't know, something about system cleanup. I'm not supposed to say more. Bullshit. 2 hours later, HR called me into a meeting, this time, in person. When I walked into the room, it wasn't just the HR director and a note-taker. There was a third person. Legal. They said they needed to ask clarifying questions about the files I submitted. Things like, how did you obtain the Slack messages? Were you given consent to store emails from former employees? Did anyone send you files marked confidential? I could tell where this was going. They were trying to flip the narrative. Not fire me, not yet. But discredit me. Make me look like I violated some internal policy so they could discipline me without touching Rick's situation. That's when I played my card. I pulled out a flash drive I'd brought with me. This has backup copies of everything I sent to you. Everything was taken from my work devices while I was actively employed. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break in. I just paid attention. Then I said, loud enough for the note-taker to pause, if you're trying to make this about me, you should know I've already spoken to someone outside. They froze. The legal rep asked, outside, as in? I looked her dead in the eye. The State Labor Board. A friend of mine used to work there. She told me exactly what kind of retaliation looks like, and what kind of settlement numbers come with it. The tone of the meeting shifted fast. Suddenly it was all, let's not jump to conclusions, and we appreciate your cooperation. The HR director started stammering about a miscommunication with IT, and how my access would be restored by end of day. But I didn't buy it. Because the next twist came from a place I didn't expect, Rick's wife. She emailed me that night. Not from a company account. From a Gmail address. The subject line just said, please read. I opened it, hands shaking. Her message was short. She said she'd found some old texts on Rick's iPad that made her sick. She didn't go into detail, but she said, you're not the only one he's hurt. I believed him for too long. I see it now. Attached was a zip folder. Photos of text messages between Rick and other women. Some were from work. Some were younger, much younger. One thread had him bragging about how he'd shut someone down during a Zoom call. It was about me. I made her shut up fast. You should have seen her face. She ended the email with one line, if there's anything I can do, let me know. I'm done covering for him. I forwarded it all to HR, CCing the legal contact, the VP, and the regional director. This time I didn't say a word. No subject line. No explanation. The screenshots spoke for themselves. 2 days after I forwarded the screenshots from Rick's wife, I got a call from the senior VP's office. His assistant said he wanted to meet with me face to face. This man didn't do meetings. He was the kind of executive who stayed behind tinted glass. He signed budgets and sent memos. I'd never spoken to him in person. When I walked into his office, he stood up and closed the door behind me himself. He didn't waste time. "We're terminating Rick effective immediately," he said. "The board is being notified today." I didn't say anything. I just nodded once. "There will also be a formal company-wide announcement. But we'll keep your name out of it, unless you want to be acknowledged." I shook my head. "No. Just fix the culture. That's what matters." He looked at me for a long second. "There's something else," he said. "Legal's preparing a settlement package. HR will walk you through it. We owe you for what you went through. But also," he paused. "Frankly, we're lucky you didn't go public." I let that sink in. Because I'd thought about it. Blasting everything online. Naming names. Tagging the company. But in the end, I wanted real change, not a scandal. Still, part of me didn't feel satisfied. Not yet. Later that afternoon, I was called into HR again, this time to finalize the paperwork. That's when they offered me a deal. They wanted to promote me. New title. More pay. Clean slate. It felt like a trap. "You're trying to clean this up fast," I said. "We're trying to move forward," they replied. I agreed to the offer, but under one condition. Mandatory harassment training for all management, including executives, with third-party monitoring. They looked surprised. But they agreed. As for Rick? It didn't end with him getting fired. The screenshots his wife sent were worse than anyone thought. Some of the women he texted were interns. A few were under 21. Legal started a separate internal review. Then someone, I don't know who, leaked the story to a local news blog that covers workplace scandals. It blew up. By the end of the week, Rick's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. His wife filed for divorce. He lost his severance. And I heard, through Jenna, that he's now being investigated for possible criminal charges because one of the interns he messaged was just 19. But I wasn't without scars. People started treating me differently. Not badly, just distant. Like I was radioactive. A walking reminder of what happens when someone speaks up. A few people avoided me altogether. Some still whispered. Some even blamed me quietly for bringing heat on the company. And part of me still wonders if I could have handled it quieter. Maybe I made mistakes too. Maybe I should have gone to HR sooner. Maybe I waited too long. But here's the truth, I gave the system every chance to do the right thing. And it failed, until I forced its hand. That's not revenge. That's justice. And I'd do it again. Every time.